Let's talk about 20 features that I use on a daily basis in DaVinci Resolve 17.4.1. So I'll make sure to leave proper chapters in the video description so you can navigate through the video more easily because it's going to be all over the place. There's a lot to talk about, so let's not waste any more time and get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the scene cut detection tool. This is very useful if you're a colorist and the client can only give you a full ProRes master render. This will not work if you have any fades in the edit, but if you have hard cuts, it will work just fine. Go to the media page and navigate to this area of the media pool, and then navigate to the video that you want to import. Right click and then scene cut detect. I've already done this to save a little bit of time, but just press this little button, auto scene detect, and it will do the magic for you. Now go to the right side here and then press the down arrows to navigate through the clips. If you see one still on the left side of the previous clip and then two stills on the right side of the next clip, you know that a cut has been made correctly. Go on and go on and go on. As you can see, this is a fade and this is impossible for Resolve to detect. So that's why it's not working. But again, if you have hard cuts only, this will work just fine. Then once you're happy, make sure to click this button, add cuts to media pool, drag them into a timeline and start grading. Next up is the edit page. I kind of always skip the cut page because I can do everything that I can do in the cut page in the edit page as well because my keyboard shortcuts are set up that way. If you want my keyboard shortcuts, they're free. You can download them in the description below. The first thing that we're talking about are the retime controls. Make sure to press the plus button here to zoom in a little bit, then get rid of this window. And then you can access these two functions by right clicking on the clip and go to retime controls or retime curve. I have it set up so I can press Command R and Command Option R to get the same two windows open. Goes a lot faster, of course. Now, I want to start sort of slowing down at this point when my friend takes off from the wave. You can do that by pressing this little sort of down arrow and then add speed point and then drag this triangle over to the left. Now, if you want, for example, to speed this part up as well, you can do that by clicking the same button, change the speed, or go to this left top corner, and once you see these arrows, you can start dragging as well. Now, of course, when you see now the cut has been made pretty radically. It goes from fast to slow, pretty abrupt. That's ugly. So you can make that more subtle. Zoom in a little bit more and then go to this little drop down menu. Make sure to check retime speed and then click on this sort of shape. I don't know how you called it. And then click on this button here. Now you have a lot more control over what the retime is doing. So now you eased it in and it shows it's a lot more subtle, a lot nicer. So that's it for retime controls. X out on these two windows and you're good to go. Your changes will still be in place. Next up, spotting, timeline, and duo timeline setups. So what I like to do whenever I work in a bigger project with a lot of clips and a lot of footage, I do a spot timeline first. That means that I go through all the clips that I've shot and then trim all the clips and make sure that, only the good bits are left over. However, if I want to then make a new timeline that is going to be my main film, I can do it in a duo timeline configuration. Go to this little button up here and press this left top button thingy. And then all the way over to the right side, you can press this one and then it creates two timeline setups. Then I have this one open and I want it here. So make sure to export media management. That's the timeline that is my spot timeline for now. And then, for example, this is all my amazing footage and I want to start dragging it in here. So after my face, I want the clip of Karen on a highline. I can drag it over and it will copy it automatically. I don't have to press any other buttons. It's very powerful and very simple. One thing to add on top of this is that you can color code all these clips. So for example, this is one sequence. I can color code all these clips. I can color code all these clips in Violet. This makes it extremely easy to see in your main timeline which sort of sequence clips are used in which area of the full film. All right, that's that. Now we're going to talk about some audio. And most of the audio things that I do are done in the edit page, one of which is done in the Fairlight page, but I'll come to that later. The first thing that I like to talk about is how you can change the volume of a clip. And we can get rid of this one. And one way to do this is to, drag this line up and down. Now in this recent version of DaVinci Resolve, when you press Shift and you drag up and down, you have a lot more control over what the volume is doing. So you can change it by a lot smaller increments. And that's nice. Otherwise, you have to go into the inspector and into the, volume controls and do it here. And even this is not as precise as holding Shift and do it here. So that's great. Then another feature in DaVinci Resolve that I think is extremely powerful, almost considered overpowered, is the audio sync function. So let's say I want to sync this clip of my face with the audio that I recorded with this microphone. So I just stacked these two clips. As you can see, I clapped here, or snapped. I just select all of them, right click, and then auto align clips based on waveform, and you're good to go. Well, that's very simple and easy, but what you can also do, and this is even insaner, let's see what happens if I drag both these clips in. You can see that they're sort of separated, yeah? So if I go into the bin that all these clips are in and go to auto sync based on waveform, and now I drag this one in. All right, let's sync this video up in 3. Wait, what? 1. And let's see what happens if I Command Z and then drag this clip in. That's the old audio. It's so extremely fast to do it this way. And if you're using timecode, it's even more consistent. It's even more spot on. But, if you're not using timecode like I am in my YouTube setting, waveforms are just fine. Make sure just to, have a snap on the waveform. That really helps. All right, another cool tip is whenever, for example, you have a couple cuts in your audio and, this part is louder. Let's make this bigger. This part is louder, and I want to fade these two in. What you can do is you can go to your effects panel and then go to audio transitions and then drag this one over here. That's a lot of work. So what you can also do is just go over to the cut until you see this icon, right click, and then add 25 frames, and then you're done. So if you want more controls, go over to your inspector window, and there you can play around with like the fall off and the fade in and blah, blah, blah. Another amazing feature in DaVinci Resolve is the built-in library. So if you are opening this page up for the first time, DaVinci Resolve will ask you if you want to download their free audio library. Do it because it's great. And then just search for pop sound. Well, great. So some weird pop sounds. And you can also create your own local database. For example, in your music folder in Finder, and then you can connect it to this one through your through the gear icon here, and then you can load millions of sound effects in there, and it's all accessible from within DaVinci Resolve, so you don't have to go through Finders and drag and drop and blah blah blah. So that's great. The next thing and last thing on audio is sidechaining. Sidechaining is ducking the sound whenever, for example, my voice is heard. For example, I have a background track, which is this one, and I have a voice track, which is this one. I generally want my voice to be louder than the music track, otherwise you can't hear what I'm saying. So let me show you what I mean. So what you want is to duck the sound whenever my voice is heard. You can do that by creating keyframes and just, animate all that stuff, and it's a lot of work. But you can also just fire up the compressor on the first channel, press send, and then go to the second channel, which holds your music, and then press listen. Then play around with these settings, and then suddenly your results will be much better. All right, when I'm sidechaining this signal, my voice should be louder than the music. But when I'm quiet, the music should be louder than my voice. Well, technically I'm not speaking. But the music should go up because the signal of my voice is not there anymore, so the music will go up automatically. That's the cool thing about sidechaining. All right. As you can hear, whenever I'm quiet, the sound goes up. Whenever I'm talking, the sound goes down. It's very important that you start playing around with these controls here because they will determine how fast the sound will pop back in. If this is 0, let's see what it sounds like. All right, when I'm sidechaining this signal, my voice should be louder than the music. But when I'm quiet, whenever I stop talking, the music kicks back in straight away. And that is not very nice. It needs to flow a little bit. So play around with it until you're satisfied. Next up, color management. This is a very powerful tool if you're using raw footage. For example, I shoot most of my stuff in Blackmagic RAW, so I can change all these settings right here. But DaVinci can also read all these settings. So if I go to my gear icon here, go to color management, press color managed and automatic color management, you can choose between SDR and HDR. And then if you press save, you see this clip is automatically transformed into a Rec 709 color space basically. So I can just do my grade and I don't have to think about all the tweaks to get it into a Rec 709 color space. This is extremely fast if you only work with raw footage. Next up, we've got power grades. Power grades are presets that you can create inside DaVinci Resolve and then save for later use. The way to do this is, you create a grade, you're happy with this grade, you grab a still, and this is your power grade. So if you save this one to your YouTube grades, for example, this will always be here. It doesn't matter if I open this project up or a different project. But if it remains in the still folder, it will only stick to this project only. Now, if you want to save this power grade to your Dropbox account, just right click and then export and then save it as a DPX file somewhere in your Dropbox and it will be there for eternity. All right, next up, saving LUTs. A LUT is a lookup table and it's very useful to use in your monitor while shooting, or for example, if you want to do a quick color grade and you don't have time to tweak all those things. What I do is I press right click on a thumbnail here. And if you don't see these thumbnails, you can just click this button here and you see them pop up. Right click, generate LUT and generate 33 point cube, save them somewhere. For example, hoi, bam. Then go over to your LUTs here, right click, reveal in Finder, and then drag this one in there, bam. Go back, refresh, go to the folder, get rid of this, look, bam, and then drag in hoi, whoop, exactly the same. So it's extremely powerful to do it this way if you want to save particular grades for later, and if you're, for example, not using DaVinci Resolve but Premiere Pro or Final Cut, you can use LUTs universally anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's DaVinci or Premiere. So that's a great tool. Also, if you want to create your own LUT packs for sale, you can do it this way. Nice. The next tool that we're talking about is the face tracking tool. And this is incredible. It's like magic, really. So let's get rid of this one. Let's get rid of this one and then open it up a little bit more. Create a new node, Alt S. Drag it up a little bit. And then, for example, I want to lighten up my face a little bit. So I just, get in a little bit more lights. And then I only want to affect my face. So I create a power window, make it nice and neat. So it only sort of affects my face like that. And now, of course, let's feather it out a little bit. Now, of course, I want to track it. So go over to the tracker window here, make sure it is on tracking. Make sure this is selected and the node is selected, and then just click this button, forward and backward tracking, and then wait. Let's take a look if we go back, how this is done. You can see how incredible. Next up is a very silly and small feature, but it is a time saver if you know how to use this correctly. So I often have a lot of clips that have different grades, but have a same node as the first node. This is, for example, the node that I use for my exposure. Now, if I need to click on the next clip, for example, or click on this one, and I need to then go back to this clip and then go back with my mouse over here to then change the settings, it takes a lot of time. However, if you go to the dots here and then same node, it doesn't matter where you are or on what clip you are. If you have the first node selected, it will always be the first node that it will be selected from. So you can navigate through the different clips with your up and down arrows, and you can leave your thumb hanging above your mouse or something to then drag up some of the settings and then change this so much quicker. It sounds silly, and if you understand what I'm saying here, this will help you to be faster in the grade. Then the last thing on grading is timeline view. And this is extremely powerful if you have, for example, a documentary with one timeline featuring a lot of talking head clips and the second timeline featuring a sequence from a car scene or something like that, it is very useful to have all these sequences on a different timeline. The reason for this is because you can take these timelines off and you're left with the talking head videos. And if you have graded that, you can just sort of copy the grade over by pressing the / on the keyboard. Bam, amazing. Oh wait, let's get rid of this the tracking data. And then, for example, that's done. You go to the second one. Well, this is the surf stuff. So, you grade all the surf stuff. That's done. You go to the V3. That's the highline part. Well, that's graded. Then you go to the V4, and that's the outdoor one. This way you have so much more control over which clips are shown in the thumbnail view, and you can just navigate through them a lot quicker. And also that saves a lot of time when doing grading. Next up is the export page. This is extremely powerful if you do a lot of stock footage. So if you need to export separate clips, but you don't want to, put an in and out point on every clip. That's extremely time consuming. So DaVinci Resolve has a built-in individual clip renderer, basically. So you just click on individual clips, then you press your, you just dial in your preferred export settings, then go to File, and then make sure it is set on custom name, use unique file names, then take this one off. This is rubbish. Then put suffix in or prefix, doesn't matter, depends on what you like. And then, just type in whatever project this is. Random project, amazing. And then make sure you do the amount of digits that you want as your suffix, and then you're done. Press Add to Render Queue and render it out, and let Resolve do its magic. All right, so that's done. Let's see what it looks like. Revealing Finder, and you can see that it has been exported just like we wanted. Next up is the media management tools. And this is where DaVinci Resolve just blows all the other editing software out of the water. For example, you're doing a lot of stock footage, and for example, ArtGrid lets you upload raw footage. Well, it is impossible to export in a raw format. But what you can do is sort of, media manage your files and trim all the bad parts of it. Because generally, if I shoot a clip in the water and I'm busy with staying alive, I have a lot of rubbish on the frame, like a lot of waves crashing into me, and then I lift up the camera and suddenly I have a shot for 4 seconds and then it is gone again. So to cut these parts off, it's very essential because otherwise it's lost data. And you can do that in DaVinci Resolve. So just go to File, Media Management, and then, for example, let's say this timeline, Export Media Management, is my timeline that I want to export. However, you can see that all these clips in here, the original size has been together, like 9.2 gigs. But if I use media and trim keeping, you can see that it only shows me 1.7 gigabytes because it will get rid of all the parts that were in front of the clip. Crazy. This way you can save raw clips, trim down to a smaller package basically, and load them up to ArtGrid or any other stock footage website that allows you to use raw. Then if we take a look, I don't know why it's called Lutback, but here we are. We have Blackmagic raw clips in full 6K 25 FPS, and it's all been trimmed down into a smaller file size. Look at that. All the data is still there for people to buy or to use, whatever. All right, next up is the archive function. Press the Shift 1 and then go to your clip here or like your project and then press Export Project Archive. Then choose a location, call it high, or whatever. And then make sure you always select media files. And I personally never use proxy files or media render cache. And if I say awk, it will grab all the files that I used throughout my computer and sort of dump it into one file. So for example, I have 20 sound effects still in my download folder. I have a clip in my Dropbox file. I have something just anywhere on my computer. It will sort of combine it all in one package. You can put that package onto Dropbox or a hard disk and you will have it forever. And you don't have to scramble all these parts yourself. Extremely useful. However, there's a catch. If you, for example, what I did here, imported like 1 terabyte worth of footage and you don't necessarily need all these clips because you've only, used this portion, you can also do that in the media management tab. Same way, go to timelines, export media management timeline, and then just use all the media because you want to keep all the clips basically. All right. So this way you can sort of store your projects a lot easier. So one thing to remember when doing the last method, you also want to export your project. So press Shift-1 again, which is not working now. And then just right-click, export project, and put that in the same folder. So whenever you just open that up, you can relink those clips, and then you're good to go. That was the 19th feature. There's one more, and this is something that nobody ever talks about. And I think personally that this is one of the main reasons that I am sticking to Blackmagic and I am sticking to DaVinci Resolve, and that is their amazing customer support. I want to give you an example. I had download, I think 17.4, and I was exporting LUTs to send out to a client. And in these LUT files, there were like glitches and weird artifacts, and it was unusable. So I emailed Blackmagic through their website, through the support page, and I got an email back in 4 hours saying, hey, sorry, can you supply us with as much details as possible? We're on it. And within 2 weeks, they released a global update for DaVinci Resolve solving this problem. How is it that a company that creates a software like this and cameras that I use is so good at replying to their customers and so good at sort of connecting to their customers? I have used Premiere Pro and Adobe for 13 years, and I have emailed them countless of times with questions and I've never got an answer back. It is, I don't know, also another reason to just, make the step. Anyway, all right, guys, that's it for this video. It was a lot to talk about, and I hope this is kind of clear to you. If it's not clear and you have some questions, make sure to ask them in the comments below, and I will get back to them. I'll always answer all the comments in these videos. So also make sure to write down your favorite food in the comments below if you have made it to this point. I would love to see if you have made it this far. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Oh, I missed.